Hey guys, so today I'm going to be demonstrating the strategy for collecting and processing words, which is from chapter 7. Basically, the point of this strategy is it helps ELL students to kind of develop both speaking and writing vocabularies. It supports the understanding of words that might have similar or the same meanings. And it helps students to really build a repertoire of words that can kind of strengthen their spoken vocabulary. So the strategy itself would kind of take place, for example, during a reading with the class. And just for today's example, we'll be talking about Fiona the Hippo. Basically, what I would do is read this book all the way through to the class. Then I would go back and do a reread of the book and really kind of dive into some of the vocabulary that the students might be struggling with. So of course I would ask the class if there were any words that they were having difficulty understanding or that were maybe a little confusing to them. And then I would also maybe anticipate a few to include on my own. And the way that you would do this is by creating a T-chart. And of course, if I were in the classroom, I would be doing this on the board as we go, as the students were calling out words, and we would fill it in that way. But for the sake of time and convenience, I've created one here. So you can also see the T-chart. I think it's figure 7.1 in the textbook. But basically, you have sections for the word that they're struggling with, and then the way that we would use it. So the first word I selected was snort, because Fiona in the book snorts quite a bit. And the example sentence we chose was, "Sometimes when I laugh too hard, I snort from my nose," said Mrs. Jordan. Basically, if the students can come up with an example, you want to use that. As the educator, you can also create that on your own if necessary. Something else that would really, I think, make these vocabulary words click is to let the students act them out. Anytime that you can get the students more involved and engaged and up and moving, I think that really is what can make a connection for them. So at that point, after you've done the word and the example, you can have the whole class snort. And of course, it'll be entertaining and they'll find it funny, but they'll remember it. Same thing with the second word, which is wiggle. And the example says, "I wiggle when I can't sit still," said one student to another. And again, when you're done with the word and the example, just have everybody stand up and wiggle. Another tool to utilize is to have the students create their own journal for this process specifically. This is the collecting part of the collecting and processing words. So they can fill out their own journal as you're filling out the T-chart together as a class. And this way they can go back if they need to. They can add more examples, anything that is going to kind of make them more familiar with these words. And that's the ultimate goal, is that we want these students to be more familiar and more comfortable with these words so that they can use them in their everyday speaking and their everyday writing. And that is collecting and processing.